If you thought Formula One is all about meritocracy, then you may need to reevaluate. Much like other sports, and everything else in the world really, cash is king in the F1 world. In this video, we'll be talking about pay drivers and how the necessary evil led to the ruthless denial of an Aussie driver's dreams. First up, the price teams have to pay for success. In simple terms, pay driver refers to those who can to an extent attribute their place in F1 to financial backing. The term is a little harsh and can often be misused. However, the motorsports brings with it incredible costs, making pay drivers a necessary evil. If you've kept up with the F1 world, you know that the link between money and glory in F1 is quite transparent. Last year, the sport set a budget cap of $145 million, excluding certain aspects like the salaries of drivers and the team's 3 highest paid employees. Some of the top F1 teams like Mercedes, Red Bull, and Ferrari have been reported to spend over $400 million in 2019, while others like Williams spent $132 million. Given the exclusions in cost caps, many of the big teams can spend more than the backmarkers. For instance, until recently, Williams in particular has annually been struggling financially. Not only did the company have poor results, but the fact that they're purely an F1 constructor puts them at a disadvantage when compared to others like Ferrari or Mercedes, which have other means of earning as well. This basically means that top teams, unlike teams like Williams, don't really need to pay drivers. Who are some of the pay drivers of F1? You'd be surprised to hear how many paid drivers have been part of F1. First, we have Lance Stroll. One well-known recent example is Lance Stroll, who initially drove for Williams and then eventually shifted to Aston Martin. According to reports, Stroll's billionaire father spent around $80 million just to get his son a set at Williams in 2017. This included ensuring that Stroll had the best engineers at junior level and a test program in a 2014 Williams. Of course, this means that by the time Stroll actually entered F1, he had more experience than almost any rookie before him. Later, when Stroll joined Force India and the team fell into financial distress in 2018, the racer's father invested in the team. Eventually, in 2020, Stroll's father bought the team, rebranding it first to Racing Point and then to Aston Martin. Back when the Racing Point-Aston Martin transition was happening, there was no doubt that Stroll would hold on to his seat, despite Sergio Perez proving to be a better driver during the 2020 season. This, of course, does not mean that Stroll isn't a talented driver. He had won the Formula 3 title the year before he entered F1. He also earned a podium in his rookie season in 2017 and then 2 more in 2020. Now, is he the most talented driver on his team? If you check the results, the answer is a clear no. Last year, Stroll finished 11th in the Drivers' Championship, while his teammate Perez finished 4th, behind only Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, and Max Verstappen. Similarly, this year, Stroll finished 13th, despite having more experience in the specific car compared to his new teammate Sebastian Vettel, who finished 12th. In addition, Vettel struggled during the initial part of the season, but has since then acquired 3 top 5 finishes. Next, Nikita Mazepin. The 2021 season brought us another pay driver in the form of Nikita Mazepin. Ever since the driver has joined Haas, he's brought with him 3 key things. First, a solid but not spectacular junior career. Second, and perhaps more than a little concerning, his problematic off-track behavior, which includes a video of him inappropriately touching a woman and a physical assault of an F3 rival in 2016. Lastly, Mazepin brings along with him massive financial support. If you thought that the transition of the Haas team color from black and red to red, white, and blue was a coincidence, think again. It's no coincidence that the team colors match with the Russian driver's country flag. In addition, the title sponsor for the team is Uralkali, which is a Russian chemical company, which has little reason to market itself to the world except that Mazepin's billionaire father is a major shareholder. We do admit that the 2021 Haas car would even make drivers like Michael Schumacher struggle. However, Mazepin's performance in the car has been quite woeful. The driver even earned himself the nickname Mazespin as a result of his weekly issues on the track. In addition, Mazepin has lost the qualifying battle to his teammate Mick Schumacher, who is a fellow rookie, in 16 of the 19 races. He's also finished out of the bottom 4 once, and so many more. These 2 are only recent examples. Pay drivers date back to even the early years of F1 racing. According to reports, Pastor Maldonado, who somehow only won 1 race in his 5-season career, brought around $55 million in terms of funding through a Venezuelan oil company. We have other examples as well of drivers who were paid drivers, but not exactly. For instance, Sergio Perez was somewhat of a paid driver, but not when he initially joined in 2011 when he brought in support from Mexican companies. Perez is now at Red Bull on merit. Other examples include Michael Schumacher, who had money to thank for his Formula One debut with Mercedes Mercedes paying Jordan around $205,000 to race him at the 1991 Belgian Grand Prix. We also had the legendary Niki Lauda, who paid his way into motorsport during the early 70s before he eventually won 3 World Cup titles. Many of these drivers bring with them a lot of talent, but there's no denying that money brings with it quite a lot of advantages. Who is Formula One's newest paid driver? So, who is the newest F1 paid driver? Alfa Romeo recently confirmed that Zhou is confirmed to join the team as F1's first full-time Chinese driver. While Zhou joining the team definitely brings long-term benefits for not only the team but for F1 as a whole, more on that in a bit, not everyone is happy with the selection. Italian driver Antonio Giovinazzi lost his seat at Alfa Romeo to Zhou. The driver took to social media to express his thoughts on the matter. A F1 is emotion, talent, cars, risk, speed, but when money rules, it can be ruthless. Well, Giovinazzi isn't completely wrong. While the Alfa Romeo team principal Fred Vasseur has denied that Zhou has $48 million backing him, it's a little hard to deny when it's crystal clear that the new driver brings with him financial support as well as talent. Giovinazzi isn't the only one who lost their shot at claiming a seat at Alfa Romeo. Zhou is currently running second in his 3rd Formula 2 season, right behind Australian rookie Oscar Piastri. Both Zhou and Piastri are members of Alpine Academy, with Piastri always being a potential candidate for the Alfa seat, which now belongs to Zhou. When comparing the 2021 performances, it's clear that the Aussie deserved it more. However, not all hope is lost. Piastri may have to spend 2022 as Alpine's reserve driver, but there are hopes that he may replace Fernando Alonso in 2023. Much like Stroll and Mazepin mentioned earlier, Zhou hasn't just bought the seat. Zhou is in fact a talented driver, just not the most talented. Zhou doesn't just bring with him monetary advantage. The driver opens up the whole Chinese market to not just Alfa Romeo, but to the whole F1 industry. Currently, Alfa Romeo doesn't spend at the budget cap, but the team has already gotten a few Chinese sponsors lining up for potential partnerships. If Zhou proves himself to be a great racer, it could be quite beneficial for everyone, much like how Max Verstappen's success brought Dutch interest to the sport, or Sergio Perez's improvement helped bring about the recent success of the Mexican Grand Prix. Alfa Romeo principal Frederic Vasseur stated that Zhou's addition to the team is really important to help the team, but even for F1, it makes sense to open a new market like China. And Zhou, in Vasseur's words, is the perfect ambassador. Is paid driver really all bad? So is the paid driver issue really a bad thing? As with everything, paid drivers come with pros and cons. In order to gain something, you need to lose something in turn. It's just the way things work within the world. Plus, as we've mentioned, it's not always about money. Sometimes location plays a big part. We saw that in the case of Verstappen and Perez. Zhou earning the seat at Alfa Romeo is going to open more doors for other drivers. Other non-Western drivers will get an opportunity because Zhou has started carving a path. In addition, Zhou brings with him a good blend of talent and financial backing, which might definitely prove beneficial in the long term. What are your thoughts on paid drivers? Do you really think they're necessary to have in F1? What do you think about Zhou taking up a seat on the Alfa Romeo seat? And do you think that Oscar Piastri can replace Fernando Alonso in 2023, or does it seem unlikely? We're curious to know what you think. Drop us a comment below to let us know your thoughts.